Welcome to the tutorial for Valorant integration in LHM.GG. In this video, we'll cover the initial configuration and integration capabilities based on the LHM Premium HUD. Let's start by discussing how Valorant integration works in LHM, so you know right away if you can meet the requirements. First of all, 2 devices with LHM launched at the same time are required for proper operation, which means you must have a professional or enterprise plan with at least 2 seats. We will explain it later. Secondly, Valorant's support in LHM uses optical character recognition through the lack of a public API from Riot. This means that no game file interference or additional configurations are required for Valorant support to work properly, so instead, we will discuss how the whole thing works. At the very beginning, we will go to the Settings tab. In the Valorant section, you will find several options that are required for the integration to perform properly. We will start with Valorant window title override. If you are simply launching the game and want to read data from it, you can leave this field blank. LHM should automatically detect the game window, but if it doesn't, try typing Valorant into this input in uppercase and adding 2 spaces. This is the name of the Valorant window in Windows. Don't ask about the 2 spaces, we don't know why either. The next option, Valorant match type, is simply the number of players. LHM currently only supports 5 versus 5 and 2 versus 2. Any other number of players will not work properly. If you are using a non-English language version, change Valorant game language to your language. If your language is missing from the list, you can let us know on Discord, link in the description. We also have a Valorant username character set option. If your players do not use the Latin alphabet, change it to 1 from the list. Set the Valorant in-game interface type according to the one you have set in the game, default or minimalistic. We will leave the other 2 options for later. At this point, what we have set is enough to proceed. Remember to always save your changes. Now you can launch Valorant. Once the game is launched, the LHM app should read the game data on its own using continuously taken screenshots of the game window and read game data from them if the 2 following criteria in the game itself are met. 1. Game is set at 1920 by 1080 resolution, borderless windowed. The game must be in exactly this resolution and this display mode because OCR has defined places from which particular data is read. Changing the resolution will change the scaling of the interface and, consequently, the data will be arranged a little differently. 2. Scoreboard must be constantly visible, and all the players have to be connected to the server. In addition, it would be best if all players were alive when the HUD is launched. For this reason, in order to use Valorant integration, it is essential to have at least 2 devices, and therefore a minimum of an enterprise plan with at least 2 seats or professional. One device will be used to read data, while the second will be the spectator's usual point of view, along with a displayed HUD that will take data from the first device. Free and personal plans can also test the integration, but this will involve using a single device, which means a constantly visible scoreboard for proper operation. But once again, this is not suitable for broadcasting and can be used for testing only. Now that we have explained how integration works, we can now return to settings. Data gathering mode is responsible for transferring game data from one PC to another. The server is the PC that reads the data, and the client is the PC that receives it and displays the HUD while keeping track of gameplay. Make sure to check the appropriate option depending on whether you are operating within a local network or not. Also remember that you must use the same account for this to work. Open Valorant Scoreboard automatically will simulate pressing tab on the computer to constantly display the scoreboard from which we read data. With this option, you don't have to do it manually. Now you may be wondering, okay, I've configured everything and would like to test if it works. But how, since Valorant lacks demos like, for example, CS2, Dota 2, or even League of Legends? This is where the problem indeed arises, because in order to test the integration, the easiest way is to find at least 4 friends to play a custom game, in which you will be the observer, and use the 2 versus 2 mode from the setup we discussed earlier. If you manage to organize the players, I have a tip for you. Record even a few minutes of gameplay for future use. You will be able to play it back later and change the capture window in the LHM settings, which we are actually going to use for the purpose of this tutorial. I'll turn on the recorded gameplay and set the media player on full screen so that the resolution and placement of elements on the screen match, and then run the HUD in LHM. Of course, I have to set the right window in the settings. As you can see, the overlay has started and the data is read from the game. This is how the premium HUD, which we will now discuss in detail, looks like. As you can see, it has all the basic elements right from the start, such as match bar or side players with information about the score, equipment held, etc. We will now move on to the HUD settings to see what kind of customization options the premium HUD offers on the professional plan. Remember that the personal plan offers a little less options. You can find all the information on our website. Select Theme allows you to choose from several available HUD color palettes. Observe Player Override allows you to manually swap the currently observed player. If no player is observed, then this window will not display, but selecting one player from the list will display it again. View Type allows you to display one of the additional screens this HUD has built in. MVP will display the player we choose from the list below. Optionally, you can use the Use Extended MVP View with more stats option, but keep in mind that this is an experimental feature, which means it may display incorrect information. Scoreboard, as the name says, will display a scoreboard with detailed information from the match. Team Economy will display a line graph of how financially the two teams looked over the last 5 minutes. Alt history for both teams is also available and works similarly to Team Economy, but as it requires perfect setup and following the entire game from start to finish, we have labeled it experimental. You can also use agent icons instead of displaying avatars from LHM or hide the currently observed player. Moving on to the next tab, in sponsor boxes you can set the images of your sponsor logos to be part of the HUD. In player agent overrides, you can swap agents manually in case OCR fails and misinterprets the character. In a word of conclusion, please remember that this integration is based on OCR, so there may be problems in the retrieved data. We regularly try to adjust and fine-tune the technology used, and with each update, we have better and better results. Unfortunately, Riot does not provide a public API, so we are doing our best to provide a solution that will be on par with the data received directly from the game. We can proudly say that this solution has been used smoothly in larger LAN events. One last thing to add, depending on your system settings, during usage of the integration, you can notice a yellow border around the Valorant window. It's Microsoft Windows feature showing you that an application, LHM in this case, is taking screenshots of a window. To turn it off in Windows 11, go to Windows Settings, Privacy and Security, scroll down to Screenshot Borders, and use the setting to turn off the screenshot border for LHM. That's all for today. Now you should be able to customize the game to work with LHM, run the HUD, and configure it to your needs with the available settings. We'll see you in the next video.